Join Edwin Frondozo on the Business Leadership Podcast every week for a unique program featuring insights and actionable items from the world's most successful business leaders. Hear firsthand the exclusive interviews and personal journeys on how today's transformational leaders made it to the top.
This is the Business Leadership Podcast, and I'm your host, Edwin Frondozo. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're in good spirits and health. People in our community are struggling. Leading in business can be lonely, and with added COVID-19 stresses, as well as social distancing, there's value in hearing from leaders facing and solving unprecedented challenges. I'm excited to be working with CATA, the Canadian Advanced Technology Alliance, on 20 Leaders in 20 Days mini-series to share insights and reassuring guidance for leading virtually through a crisis. We will hear from 20 leaders in 20 consecutive days, advice and inspiration for today's challenges, and an outlook for the other side of COVID-19 will be shared by technology leaders. On this first episode of the mini-series, Suzanne Grant, she's the CEO of CATA, my friend. We share our thoughts on where this project came from, why we thought it was important to share what all leaders are going through today, and bring it out in a timely manner as we are in this together. Today's episode is brought to you by Slingshot. It's a Canadian telecommunications leader in business voice over IP that empowers the emerging and innovative companies to effectively work from home. To learn more, go to slingshotvoip.com/TBLP. And with that, here we go.
We have been planning on doing something together because we have the synergy around leadership and technology leaders. So, and then when COVID cropped up, it's like, okay, we need to do something. We need to just jump in and be doing something. So it's going to look a little bit different.
As we were brainstorming, and I think you had an idea, which came from a campaign that you successfully launched a month ago.
Right. So these things were colliding. Exactly. So we had just done 20 women in STEM in 20 days, this very successful campaign. And we wanted to do something like that because we got such great engagement about just like showcasing, putting our leaders out there and really short, snappy pieces of advice. So we were already looking at doing another campaign like that. And you and I were talking about doing a leadership podcast, which we were kind of trying to think about the concept. And then, we saw this, we saw what happened when COVID really hit. And, people were just struggling. And so we got together and we're talking about crisis and working through crisis, and that there's something at the end of COVID. So we need to be working towards that. And it's a time where we need to hear from people that are also going through it, because everybody's going through it together. And we have a new shifted set of everything, of priorities, of virtual work, of family first, of our whole routines being upside down, and a lot of fear. There's fear out there, and a lot of heaviness for leaders. They're having to make hard decisions. So we thought, let's just get the messages out, get people connected. And so we moved up our 20 Leaders in 20 Days, and we moved up our podcast and said, let's put it together.
Yeah, and for me, it made sense. Suzanne, remember I was saying, as I was going through all that and myself recognizing the platform, being a leader and being responsible with the platform, I was hesitant. I told you this. I was hesitant what to do. I didn't want to make more noise into the internet, into the world, especially as myself was going through the ups and downs of this situation, having some anxieties and some stresses, some worries. And then all of a sudden I'm at the top of that hill and I'm like super positive, super happy, super being inspirational again. And as you and I talked, I love the idea of like, how do we have this real time conversation with leaders who are going through this as well and share their challenges and their insights, and maybe some of the leaders that we speak to and we're speaking with have gone through crises or downturns in the markets in the past and how they handled
Right.
that. So that was an amazing opportunity for you and I to get together. And this is what I loved about this concept.
Yeah, and we got to reminisce about some of those old crises and how they were different for us in our different worlds, in a different phase of our lives. So very interesting. So the resiliency piece. So resiliency is like you train for it. So those people who've been through a crisis before know that there's something at the other side. And if it's your first crisis rodeo, so to speak, you're not sure, right? You haven't worked through it. So the stress level can be different. And what you're facing, I think is very unique for different people. What are you seeing out there? Like, how are you seeing your community? What's happening? I would say that like every 36 hours, the world is changing. And, my expression is, I'm doing a newsletter for CATA right now, and I have pictures of events we were at a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, that was so last week. Like, we should do that right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it depends which communities I'm in, and for the most part, on my professional communities, the entrepreneurship, the business leaders, the entrepreneurs, business leaders, and the executives. A lot of them, if you're not in a closed, trusted network like a mastermind, I'm part of 2 masterminds. I'm hearing from those close to me, it's like, it's that roller coaster. Let's get aside from how do we continue our business, like how do we continue on life? Like this is a difficult situation.
Yeah.
This is unheralded in the sense of that, there were some crises in the past. This is a global one, right? This is
Right.
not, people talked about 9/11 was a big thing. It make an impact in the world, but this is like everyone's affected in this, and we don't even know how long it's going to take right now. And to point 36 hours, it's every 36 hours, it's every 24 hours, and that community is trying to come to terms with that. And when it comes to the leaders, and you said it yourself, I just pray for all the leaders because it's hard. I think the world leaders are doing the best as they can in every point of situation from their own experiences. But, I sort of thankful that maybe, those decisions aren't for me to make at this point. But it's not easy, right?
Right. So interestingly, as entrepreneurs, we look out and we always have a certain amount of uncertainty. We face uncertainty. And we have these cycles. You talked about the roller coaster. I think the roller coaster is getting squished together closer, and we have more uncertainty. And then we layer on top of that our teams, we have our families, we have our family situation. You have your daughter to look after, to take her to the park, or maybe you can't do that anymore. That was so yesterday.
Yeah. Zoom party at the park now.
So we have all these other responsibilities. I've talked to people that are adjusting to, I'm working, our company just went crazy. We got so much like positive business coming in, but now I'm at home and I've got my kids at home and I'm ignoring them. And then I've got people on my team who've got family members who are being tested for COVID, who are sick. So, and then they're stressed. And so we just need to deal with everybody. We need to move, and then we need to be very patient and slow and intentional with our leadership and kind, and just everything might not go exactly. Like if I expect something out of you, Edwin, it might not work exactly as I expected it, because maybe something gets in your way. You have an obstacle, a life obstacle that jumps in your way. We're hearing, look at NBC in New York, they had to close down their studio.
Wow.
And
it's crazy. And what I'm other excited about as well, Suzanne, is as we are seeing ourselves as leaders, depending on the companies and the business we're running, everyone's working from home. The future of work is here today. And what I'm excited about in the conversations that we're going to share are to see how everyone is dealing with the transition, the forced transition. And then also I'm going to, we're going to try to find where the opportunities are within all this chaos, right? Where are we seeing, where are the shifts, what are happening, right? And this is one conversation that's really coming up is like, yeah, there's opportunities actually, which is a bit overwhelming. The opportunity of time. We have the opportunity of time, a lot of us, right? People are at home working out. Like it's kind of mind-boggling to me, right? It's people are working out, hanging out with their kids, doing homeschooling and doing this and that. So I'm excited about those conversations and sharing those conversations to the community.
Well, right. So we see a lot of pivoting, right? So my day-to-day, what I do, what my goals are have shifted significantly from 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I guess my overall goal is when we look at these treasures, our Canadian treasures of intellectual property and the people that have that IP in their minds, the talent, all that it took to get those teams together, that asset, that Canadian asset, which is, the economic engine and the pulse, the heartbeat of Canada's future is at risk. So how do we hold that together? So we need to hold that together. It's immediate. But then on the other side of COVID, where all nations are going to be a little wobbly, right? So how do we come out of this strong and ready and it can work for us? When I hear things like Amazon is hiring 100,000 people right now, there's still big companies with big budgets that can come in and scoop up all of our talent. So and we want our Canadian, our creators, our inventors to stay here on the other side of COVID. So we need to get ready to remain. We need that robustness. We need that resilience. We need to think about right now. I got to stay safe. I got to look after myself. I got to look after my family. I got to look after my work family. And maybe we need to be a little bit more generous and flexible, right? It's about how do we keep everybody above on that, that we have the COVID curve, and then we've got, for entrepreneurs, the curve looks very different. There's those valleys of death, right? So it's a terrible term under the circumstances, but we want to help people weather that storm, stabilize. And then there are these new opportunities. There's also a lot of companies who are pivoting right now, or this situation is like they're coming of age because it's more obvious the value that they deliver. It's a lot of change very quickly.
It's all change. It's all living in the present, understanding the uncertainty and taking care of that intellectual property, the past per se, right? And this is why this conversation is something I'm really passionate about, and I appreciate the opportunity, Suzanne, to work with you and CATA on this, because I think it's important. I think it's the conversation is going to change day by day. We're going to have 20 conversations, and hopefully, we'd love to hear from you. If there's something that you think we should be talking about, let us know. Check the show notes. Check the website. This will be a continuing conversation, at least for the foreseeable 20 days.
Yeah, so I think it's important, our vision for this was that every day, every weekday at 9 a.m., people can listen to, this is a long conversation, but the podcasts are actually mini podcasts. So it's like, how many minutes are you looking at? You're the host, you're the producer, 7-8 minutes, pretty snappy. Let's get my energy juice here, and let's just listen to and be aware of different challenges and different solutions and how people are moving through this.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be it's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to be here with you all on this journey as we navigate through it together.
Well, that's the new everything, isn't it? We're all together from a distance.
Yeah, we're all in it together. Well, Suzanne, again, thank you for the opportunity, and we'll definitely keep our ears out, and definitely reach out to Suzanne and myself if you have any thoughts, or if you want to try to join the conversation. We're happy to listen to all of you.
Edwin, thank you for always being an inspiration and just selflessly behind and supporting entrepreneurs. I know you're an entrepreneur yourself. You've got your own business that you're running. And you've got a young family. You've got your own COVID stuff, and then this is another layer. But I really respect the passion and the energy and the commitment to step up. It's very generous. Thank you so much.
That's it, biz leaders. Thank you for joining me on the Business Leadership Podcast. This was day 1 of CATA's 20 Leaders in 20 Days mini-series. If you want to learn more about this mini-series, Suzanne, or anything else that we discussed, please go to thebusinessleadership.com. Do join me on my private Facebook group where I will discuss this episode. I'll answer your questions and connect you with other like-minded business leaders. Simply search for the Business Leadership Group directly on Facebook. Thank you again to Slingshot, a Canadian telecommunications leader in business voice over IP that empowers the emerging and innovative companies to effectively work from home. To learn more, go to slingshotvoip.com/TBLP. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on your favorite podcast player. Thank you again. Be your best.
Thank you for listening to the Business Leadership Podcast at thebusinessleadership.com.